Yeah, good morning. So we have 2 minutes to go and I'll start my class after 2 minutes. I have no PPT today because I only in the last night at about 9 o'clock I was confirmed that I will have a class today. So I haven't prepared any PPT as such. And I will be going extempore, of course, in sequence with what is already given in your course material. I have 1 more minute to go, but then in the meantime, I can tell you what the subject that we are dealing today is. Let me put it in the chat. Okay. The subject that we are dealing with is production of corporate publications. Okay, but before we think about corporate publications, we should also have an idea of what exactly this is unit one of this particular subject, and block one and unit one, and the textbook itself is known as okay, well, introduction to corporate publications as such. Okay, then well, the course material has been prepared by. In fact, I have edited the course material. We prepared a lot, and our block one consists of introduction to corporate publication. The entire thing is based on the editing and production of corporate publication, but now you have production of corporate publications. So good morning to all of you. It is now 10 o'clock, and I will go with block one and unit one. And the introduction to corporate publications is what is the title of the block and the title of the first unit. I will go very fastly with the first unit because most of it is known to you. Second unit onwards, I will be a bit technical and you will be in a position to understand it provided you really listen to my lecture intently. Very essential that you should listen to it along with you are going through the course material. I will be going in the same sequence as given in the course material, but I will be also giving you in the course of my lecture some of the you know hiccups that one faces as a PRO when he's bringing out publications. Particularly, we call them as corporate publications. But before we go into the production of corporate publications, let us first know what we mean by actually the concept of corporate publications, public relations. So why should we have this concept of public relations? All of us know, we studied a lot. But what we mean by is that concept of corporate publications. But before I tell you what is corporate publication, you should know what is corporate. Now, all of you know, all of you are aware of what exactly this organization meant for, a corporate body is meant for. And we have whatever a corporate organization, we have a public known as corporate public. The public here, we are all aware already, we studied in public relations, are divided into two, internal and external. A good example is employees, and the other example is customers. So we have, but who are the key public of any corporation? It can be any corporate body, and they can be shareholders, they can be employees, they can be customers, they can be distributors, they can be suppliers, community neighbors in and around the area, media, more important, and the government. Now, these are all the key public of the corporation or of a corporate body. So this is very essential for us to understand. And then we have to cater to these entire segment of public, be it internal or external. And to do that, we have to adopt many methods of how to attract them, how to keep them correctly informed, how to keep them permanently informed. I will tell you why I use the word permanently. So we'll be discussing as we go along because it's essential that sometimes you bring out a very good product, you give a very good service, but you are not in a position to really glorify or amplify the good things that you're trying to do. So how will you do that? How will you do that? Everybody expects profits, everybody expects publicity, employees want better wages, everything they have. I mean, just to understand how things go on. So we have to know that public is the key element in corporate publications. And always remember, every corporate body has a mission. And this mission is nothing but we call it as a vision. Vision and mission are inseparable, they go hand in hand. Vision is something where, for instance, take the example of Ambedkar University, where it is the philosophy of education, of creating a very good society. That is the vision of this university. Quality education, training programs, and for whom? For a very wide cross section of the society. That is very essential one. Mainly to help those deprived, because education, say for instance, the vision of Open University is to impart education at the lowest cost so that it is most affordable to the poorest of the poor also. And by using, of course, the vision is that they want to use modern technologies in teaching and learning process. Right now, what we are doing is a modern technology only. All of you would not have imagined this about 10 years back or even just before Corona also. In a way, thanks to COVID, we have actually upgraded ourselves in the teaching learning process. Though we did go with the contact programs, physical also. So we are making education and training instruments for living and for making a living. This is what we mean by what we call it as you know, the vision of the university. Similarly, if you take mission of the university, what do we know? What is the mission of this? It is to continue the academic programs, we competency building, okay, result oriented, accountable and transparent uh, administration. All these things are possible, and that is the mission of the university. Not to don't forget research, innovation, training, and networking for system development and other things also. So please remember. So please remember that we have just as how we have a mission, a vision, and mission. Every corporate organization also has. So every corporate organization also brings out products. Open University brings out products in the form of graduates and postgraduates, in the form of candidates coming out qualified. They're coming out as better human beings. They're coming out as qualified human beings. So like that, we have products. So if it is ECIL, all of us know what happens in ECIL, very famous for producing EVMs. Or State Bank, for instance, also comes out with products like deposits, loans, SIP, mutual funds, and insurance and whatnot. So please remember that the product and the services are all a part of an organization. Why do we need to know all this? This is essential because before we understand what we mean by corporate publications, we should be able to have an idea of what exactly these publications would be of any help to a body like corporate body. So this is what we mean by that's why every organization has a corporate face. Even in government nowadays is thinking about corporate face, and all of us know that government has, in fact, nowadays because thanks to 1991 when P.V. Narasimha Rao, ushered in LPG liberalization, privatization, globalization, a sort of economic reforms, he ensured that the government also has a sort of a corporate outlook. That government is business friendly. That government also means to not simply spend money but also earn money. And so that the government becomes more healthier financially, economically, and the people are also given a lot of opportunities. So by bringing in economic reforms, by bringing in financial changes, we all know how India progressed from 1990 onwards. Okay, this is one thing where even the government also was having some kind of a vision and a mission. So similarly, every corporate body has a vision, has a mission, it has a strategy, it has an identity, it has an image, it has a reputation. Take Infosys, take Google, for instance, all these are corporate organization, Tesla, corporate products, Tesla cars are coming, so their services. corporate conscience. How are you? Are you doing at the cost of some harm to the individual? Corporate conscience is very important, keeping the present day environmental situation, ecological balance, biodiversity. I'm sure every corporate body should also have what is known as a conscience. They may be making products, they may be making a lot of money, they may be keeping the employees happy, customers happy, shareholders happy, everyone happy, but at the same time, the general public also should be equally happy without being affected. Say, for instance, pollution. So, corporate conscience is very essential. Corporate social responsibility emerges out of that, taking care of the community around the organization, maybe 5 kilometers, 5 square kilometers. They're in a position to take care of some of the needs of the community around. Or, for instance, corporate governance. We all know what we mean corporate governance, corporate brand, corporate philanthropy. Philanthropy is again different from that, something like charity, like donations, taking care of age old, maybe old age homes nearby, or corporate sponsorship. So, corporate social responsibility is different from corporate philanthropy. So please remember there is a lot of change in that. Corporate social responsibility can be like building a new building for a government high school, perhaps, so that their children don't suffer. Government has no funds, for instance, they can come forward. And like that, we have in Telangana government a good number of CSR initiatives where they are building schools, they are building polytechnics, and that's how the things are taking place. So all these are known as corporate initiatives, corporate bodies. So you know now what exactly we mean by corporate. So you all know that every corporate is headed by a CEO and a board of directors, and all. So the decisions are taken in a very democratic manner. And then you see, for instance, for example, take the examples of Municipal Corporation of Hyderabad. So it's trying its best to eradicate, for instance, mosquito menace and everywhere. So they are coming regularly. So, for instance, spraying. They're doing lots of things wherein they're in contact with the public to ensure that dengue, for instance, outbreak doesn't take place. Prevention is better than cure. So, for instance, they take care of these things. So, this is how the overall scenario of a corporate working of a corporate body. So, anyone who works through a corporate body, it's who governs an organization. We call that as a corporate governance. So now when we all say, good governance. So now Modi has a slogan saying that minimum government and maximum governance. What do we mean by governance? So what do we mean by that? That is, they don't want anything to be, for instance, in any corporate body, there are only about some basic principles of good governance. There are five basic principles of good governance. One is people's participation in decision making. So whenever anything is taken up, people's participation is important. For instance, let us assume that a corporate body applies to government for a permission to set up a chemical plant in a particular area, X area. So the government doesn't give permission just like that. What it does is it releases, for instance, an advertisement asking the people in that area about their opinion, for instance. So you know what has happened? The government has involved the public or people's participation in decision making. So if there is, for instance, 70 to 80% of resistance, opposition, the government will tell very clearly to this particular corporate body not to set up its plant because there is a total opposition and because they are justified in that. So this is as a total. So this is very open, no secrets. Everything is with people are happy or not. So there are no politics involved in this. For instance, people's participation. You might have seen many advertisements where people are involved in decision making. It's different story if people are not responding and then blaming. It's not correct to blame someone without you are doing your duty also. For instance, they give chance for us to do that. For even in Pegasus, Supreme Court has also given a chance to everybody to tell whether their phone has been tapped. They have given 2 to 3 times advertisement and people are given last date, they have to respond. Then if they respond, they have to submit the telephone. For instance, we have seen all these things. So people's participation in decision making is important for good governance, corporate governance. Then transparency. There's nothing, there's what we call in Hindi, doodh ka doodh and pani ka pani. So there's nothing, hunky dory or hodgepodge, and there should be a total transparency. And then responsiveness. How are you responding? How are you responding to any of the questions that are raised, or any of the reactions, or any of the feedback that you do it? That also is a part of your good governance. And then accountability. Tomorrow, anything happens because people have approved it and because you have started it, And then it is your accountability also. You are also accountable to that, and especially for the safety parameters and all that. And then right to information. Everyone has a right to know what's happening with your organization, what's the good of your corporate body, what are all these things. So these are all the five basic principles of corporate governance. Why do we discuss this? Because before we go into the uh, publications, you should know the way the things are with the corporate body. So similarly, we have a CSR. All of us know what is corporate social responsibility. They do a lot of activities now. They take out a percentage of their profit, and there is now mandated also to for fulfilling the CSR activity. So this is what we mean by actually the need for public relations. Also, why do we need public relations? The need for publications is what we will see now. So please remember that we have seen the definitions of public relations. We have seen what communication means for public relations. We have seen areas of corporate publications and corporate communications. So please remember there is a difference between public relations and corporate communication. Corporate communication, for instance, bringing out this publication is a part of corporate communication, but it is actually to facilitate corporate public relations. So it's essential for us to know that public relations, unfortunately, public relations is having an identity crisis. Many people are called confused. PR managers are known as event managers, when event managers is entirely different from what is public relations. Journalists are different from public relations. Event managers are different from public relations. But the general perception of the public is that there is an identity crisis for public relation officers. So they call sometimes a journalist a PRO and a PRO a journalist, or as if these two are not sufficient, you know, as if these two are not sufficient, they may call them with some other name. But let us be very clear that public relations is a profession by itself, is a specialization by itself. So it has a different connotation than to what you have studied in journalism. Journalism is different from public relations. Okay, so in public relations, the communication that you adopt, because it's a corporate body, and because in order to facilitate very good public relations, you have what is known as a communication in place. And because a communication wing of a corporate body takes care of the corporate communication. This is very essential for us to know what exactly is corporate communication. It is like harmonizing all communication within an organization. There should not be any gap in the way you want to say and in the way the people should receive, internal or external public, and what is the ultimate goal? Is it actually fulfilling the corporate mission? Is it fulfilling the objectives? And that is possible when you are in a position to have a grip on what is known as corporate communication. This is very essential for us to know. And we also have what is known as communication audit. Audit means you adopt so many methods of communication in a public relations organization, in a corporate body. Then you may be adopting print method, radio, TV, net. You'll also do an audit, which is actually yielding better result, which is actually giving us good result, good feedback, good response. What is that? Or which is actually getting criticism. And what kind of criticism? Is it constructive or is it harming? So on that basis, on the basis of the communication audit, you will adopt your new communication strategic methods for the organization. All this is known as corporate communication. So corporate communication enables you to maintain that corporate identity, to retain that corporate image. And that for that reason, we have what is known as a lot of things known as publications, which come out of a corporate body. Now, what exactly we mean by corporate publication? Why should we know about corporate publication? What is the role of print media? Nowadays, everybody would say, why, sir, there's nothing in printing? Why do we need books when I get everything on my cell phone, on my laptop, or on my iPad, or on my whatever is there? I have all versions of the printed versions. You're absolutely right. But how will you be in a position to convince that to the users? So we have so many things. For instance, we bring out various publications, not simply the books, not simply the house journals. Now the great thing about this printed products is that ironically, in India and many other neighboring countries, and where literacy is now slowly, you know, um, going up day by day, a little percentage, when literacy is going up. In a country like India, which is a developing country, we are still dependent on printed products for various reasons. Actually, it's not that other developed countries have completely dumped the printed products. I must tell you one example, then you will be convinced why printed products are very, very useful, are very essential for the people to depend upon this particular kind of communication, communication through print. Now, one of the important thing is that if you know recently, when recently means maybe about a few years back, Harry Potter is a very famous, world famous, you know, book, which is a printed version, and millions of copies are printed. There are people who wait for hours together in the queue to buy this book. Why do they want to buy a book when it is already available in their Kindle? When it is a soft version is available, why are people going for the books? So there is one reason for that. The reason being that a printed product has, or it gives the convenience of holding it and reading it as the reader likes, at his convenience. He is not dependent on anything. He is not dependent on the quality of the screen. He is not dependent on the lighting of the room. He is not dependent on the internet connection, the Wi-Fi, the data, online, all this. He is not dependent on anything. It's just a printed piece. And in there, for instance, I have a table calendar right now here. I have a table calendar. I know immediately I can just turn it and see what exactly is the day. For instance, I have a wall calendar. Open University brings out a wall calendar. So it is the question of convenience with which you are able to go through the information, which is permanently there in the form of a book, in the form of a newsletter, in the form of a house journal, in the form of a newsletter, in the form of a profile, manual, reports, catalogs, calendars, diaries, brochures. So many things are there. Pamphlets, we have even pamphlets also. So what are the purpose? What is the purpose of this publication? Is to ensure that the reader is in a position to hold a product and read it. So everything from stationery, posters, newsletters, press releases, leaflets to prospectuses, annual report. Sometimes it is mandatory for you to print an annual report as per law. So please remember, these are all what you call it as, it is a potent medium of communication. It's a, to reach out to a literate population. Yes, the one disadvantage is that you need to be literate to really make use of a printed publication or a corporate publication. Now let us see what exactly we mean by corporate publication. So any material that comes out of a corporate organization, any material, it need not be in the form of a book. It can be in any printed form. Anything that comes out of this particular thing is known as a corporate publication. Now, why should you as a PRO know about corporate publication? You should know about this, how to produce this, because you will be responsible as PRO or PR manager to bring out the publications in time, in the best quality, at the most economical price. Now you are endowed with the responsibility of bringing this in time. If it doesn't come in time, then again you are held responsible. So most of these publications are those which are brought out on behalf of the company. Now they are given in the hands of the users, the readers, and then they understand the greatness of your organization, the great corporate governance of your organization through the literature that you bring out as a PRO. Any literature that you bring out as a PRO from a corporate body is known as a corporate publication. So again, we know what we mean by that. We studied earlier also brochures, environment reports, corporate reports, annual reports, customer newsletters, employee newsletters, online and offline offerings, and business TV. So corporate publication target everybody, not only the internal audience, external and internal audiences. So a house journal, which is meant for the employees, is an internal house journal. You bring out a beautiful house journal where you are involving, you're inviting the employees to contribute articles, to contribute their experiences, to contribute their ideas, to contribute their innovations, to contribute their findings, to contribute their feedback of what they have gone through in the course of a production in a factory, for instance. They can contribute in the form of some article or something. And then these are all gathered. They can ask, they can also, you can also ask their children to contribute, maybe some artwork, maybe some poems, or maybe anything under the sky. So you can ask them to contribute these things. So you bring out a beautiful, so you get the content from these people, edit it, design it, and bring out a beautifully, beautifully designed publication. And that goes into the hands of the internal employees. Then they feel proud of their organization. They feel proud of that they have been, that their voice has been taken, that what they have written has been published. So they feel very happy when they see their name and designation in a printed form. They feel very proud. And not only that, their their message is getting conveyed to everyone in the organization. So how do you? So that is one of the motivational aspects of a corporate publication. Very very essential for us to motivate the employees, internal employees. For it. If you take the same thing when you go outside, so when you say you bring out a publication for external, so you bring out a trade publication. So you bring out anything that we bring internal, such as employees, and then it has a lot of influence also. And then external. Suppose you bring out something where external means your customers, influential people, such as the media. And I'm sure when you were traveling in an Air India flight, Air India brings out a beautiful publication. It's a corporate publication. And while you're traveling in Air India, you'll leave that book there only. It's a very costly book and it's printed on a very high quality paper with very rich content. And in that, they will show you, suppose you're going from Hyderabad to Chennai, and that book will carry some information on Chennai, some good hotels about Chennai, some visiting places about Chennai, and you are attracted with the publication. You put it back, or sometimes you take it also, they wouldn't really grumble about that because it's so beautiful. You're tempted to take the copy with you. And normally they don't grumble, though they advise you to kindly leave the book there itself. But since you are so attracted, sometimes perhaps you can tell them that you are very happy, you would be very happy to carry that with you. And as part of their public relations initiative, they give you that copy as a complimentary. That book itself may be costing about 30 to 40 rupees, and depending on the number of copies that they print. So please remember these corporate publications are in a position to glorify the image of the organization. So Air India, for instance, Air India is back in Tata with Tata. Tata has appointed a Turkey guy as the CEO. And now they are going to bring out, for instance, they're going to bring out a publication perhaps in the new atmosphere. So please remember, and that will be like, selling the company. So please, you will be then telling that food is good. They have a beautiful publication. So that's how you will be able to do that. Now, please remember that, publicly, no, there's a very good corporate communication. It's a part of the so publications in corporate publication. So if you remember, one of the there's a very good example given in your course material is that one of the students doing PhD, she went to various IT companies in both in Bangalore and Hyderabad for research. So she was informed that there was no PR department in the companies. She was shocked. And then she said, no, I think it should be given. They readily gave information. So please remember, communication is all about harmonizing and other things. So we all have seen what exactly we mean by that. And then we'll see what we mean by the types of publications that are brought out by the corporate body. What are the types of publications that are brought out by the corporate body? So some are known as manuals and handbooks. You know that every employee is guided, governed by rules. And these rules are not these rules are not something which the manager follows in telling you to carry out. No, everything is given in the form of manual, in the form of a handbook. That is, every company has its philosophy, has its policy, has a code of conduct, has a work procedure. It has a kind of a procedure it follows to retain its corporate identity. So they bring out some house journals, They bring out lots of publications. And this manual and handbook is one such publication which helps you to understand. Maybe when you join a factory or an office or a corporate organization, you are given in your hand, you're given with a copy of a manual or a handbook so that you try to understand what are the administrative procedures in this company, what is office or factory rules. You see the procedures in, for instance, Google is different from that of, say, ECIL. So ECIL has more government undertaking. Google is totally free. The procedures may vary. So Google, as you like, you can work, you can sit on a staircase, you can sit anywhere and work, and as long as the work is done, they are not bothered about the means you adopt to get the work done. But it is not so in case of some other organization where they may say, no, you'll have to come to the office, attend the office, and then do so and so and so. So please remember, this is how the administrative procedures will be there in manual. You have office or factory rules. There are regulations. There are service conditions. You cannot try to do as you like. There are certain service conditions. There's a question of code of conduct. There's a question. So how is the provident fund in this organization? How are the pension rules? And everything the familiar will have, the employees will have to be familiar. So they are given either a manual or a handbook. This is brought out normally once in a time, but sometimes they do update also now and then on the basis of the feedback they receive. They revise the manual or the handbook from time to time, depending on the rapid changes that may take place in the approach of the employees or in bringing new machines or in bringing new equipment, new infrastructure that management takes care of producing, of giving the content of our manuals and handbooks. What is essential for us as a PRO, you will be asked to bring out a manual or a handbook. They will give you all the material which is supposed to be accurate, which is supposed to be authoritative, which is supposed to be authentic. And these things are given to you, okay? And so that they also stand the test of law. So they might not, so tomorrow somebody should not say that again, illegally I was asked. No, we have gone by the rule book, we have gone by the handbook. So in other words, it is something like a Bible which we have to follow religiously. So we'll have to see that this is not. So as part of a new recruit is here. So this is also a corporate publication. This is also the response. So bringing it out, designing it, making it readable, making it beautiful, making it friendly to hold, making it easy to read. All this is endowed. The PRO is endowed with the responsibility of making this as one of the prestigious publications, which is known as manual or a handbook. So it should last for about 3 or 4 years. Maybe after 4 years you may update it, but for 4 years the book should not become spoiled. Book should be strong enough to withstand the use by many employees. Each employee is given a book. Doesn't matter if it costs money. Also, each employee is given a complimentary copy of this particular manual or handbook. And all of us know that an annual report of a corporate organization is very, very eagerly looked for, and they are actually, everybody is eager to know, particularly shareholders are eager to know, maybe the company directors or maybe the external public, all of suppliers, you know, uh, they're all eager to know how the company is doing. If the company is doing good, so they're eager to know about assets and liabilities. Then what are the expansion programs? All these are given in an annual report. So they will tell in an annual report, yearly report, how much money has come, how much they have spent, how much they have set aside as profit, and what are the future plans, how they're going to increase the employment, how the present employees are going to be elevated. All these things, for instance, can be made in the form of a publication known as annual report. So this annual report is normally printed on a very good quality paper. We call it as art paper with colorful illustrations, pictures, diagrammatic representation. The growth can be shown in the form of a diagrammatic representation. For instance, the production this year has gone up by 23%. So you can show that graphically than the last year or than the last 5 years. And this year you have seen how it has taken growth and how your employees are taken care of. Maybe in this year, COVID, how you tackled COVID, how you came to the rescue of the employees who were suffering from COVID, who and their families were suffering. All these things perhaps you can try to mention in an annual report. So care is taken to emphasize, particularly to show to the shareholders that there is a growing trend or growth trend of the organization. Another important area, another publication is something like a chairman's speech, which is also maybe sometimes it's a part of annual report, Sometimes it's and part of a public relation, house journal, internal, external. The chairman has a space, exclusive space earmarked in publications like, for instance, annual report or even an internal house journal or an external house journal. So his speeches on occasions like shareholder meeting or inauguration, pictures of some of the functions that he attended, that he inaugurated, that maybe he laid foundation stone, they also become a part of the publication for the intending publics. It can be internal publics or the external publics. So in the case with house journals, all of us know two house journals are there, internal house journal and then the external house journal also. So all those which are for meant for potential customers, shareholders, dealers, they are known as external public. Employees are known as the internal public. So similarly, we can bring out a newsletter. Newsletter tells us what is news, what's happening in an organization, what is something new in this organization. So it's a small publication, and you are able to tell some developments that have taken place in your organization. Maybe over a period of 1 week or 2 weeks, maybe newsletter can come once in a month. So maybe it can consist of 4 to 8 pages with few pictures and illustrations, and you are able to bring out a newsletter which is circulated. Normally printed in single color, black and white, that's what we call it. And maybe the masthead, that is the name of the newsletter, can come in color. So similarly, we have discussed so far the corporate publication, namely the annual report, namely the chairman's speech, which can be a separate part also or a part of the other publications, house journals, employees newsletter. Now we'll see what we may folders. Folders are something which is actually a one which gives an easy to read and understand a little bit about an organization. So if I give you an 8-page folder, it can be a zigzag folder. When you go into an office, it is there on the desk, it's available freely. You take out that folder and perhaps go through. In fact, when you go to any hotel, you go through the folder. In the folder, you have all the information as to where and the bar is there, where the restaurant is there, where the 24-hour coffee shop is there, where you get laundry. But a little bit of information in the folder is there on that in this folder. So the information is very short, brief, kept simple and straightforward. So they don't have much time to read the entire thing, but they know they want to go through only the required information. Maybe a map of the hotel, what all the facilities you have. Maybe you have a jacuzzi, you may have a swimming pool, you may have a gym. So all these can be colorfully shown. All special features of your hotel, for instance, can be printed in the form of a folder and kept in the reception desk of the folder. It is free. Anyone can pick it up and then read a copy and carry it with him or her. So that is one of the publication. Folder, don't simply rule out the only folder. They may read it and throw it out. They may read it and throw it out, yes. But they may be impressed by what you have printed on that. They may be impressed by the content. They are convinced by the information provided in the folder. That is why they have become your customer. And next time also you will become a loyal customer. And then third time, fourth time, you are able to earn a permanent customer in the process through a simple thing like a folder also. So don't underestimate, BRO should not underestimate any publication that is brought out by the organization. It can be a simple folder, it can be a brochure, it can be a annual report, it can be a newsletter, it can be a house journal. Everything has its significance and khubiyat. In Urdu, we call it khubiyat. It has its completeness also. So it has something special to offer, irrespective of what it is. So brochures, for instance, brochure is something, it's a German derivation, and it is nothing but where you have multiple sheets which are stitched, okay, at the back. We call them as saddle stitching or stapling. So they are also perfect bound like a paperback book. And they are given, bigger than folders are brochures where you have more pages, you have more illustrations, you have more information, and you are able to make a brochure, normally high quality paper, more color, and it's folded also. So sometimes what happens, many a time, people get confused between a brochure and a folder. Though there is a significance difference between these two. Folder, as the name implies, is only foldable. It just folds. There is no stitch anywhere. There is no thread or a wire to hold all the pages together in a folder. The folder can be, say, simply 8 pages this side, back side 8 pages, 16-page folder. But the same 16 page, if it is in the form of a book and it is stitched at the back, it becomes a brochure. So it depends on whether you want a brochure, whether you want a folder. It all depends on the organization which is planning out in bringing out these corporate publications. So is the case. Now, for instance, nowadays people are not really that attracted towards calendars and diaries. But you know, till maybe till about 10 years back, calendars and diaries were also still uh, very, very popular and eagerly awaited publications. But in order to maintain good relations, with regular customers, anything, still, calendars are used. Everybody would love to have a wall calendar so that at a glance he is able to see the date. Not that he can't see on his mobile or anywhere, but at a glance when you see, or at a glance when three or four people are in a meeting and looking at the calendar, one can easily know. So, so you are in a position to print calendars and diaries. Sometimes you make a note of the diary, at least. At least 40% of the population are all senior citizens and still working, and they are used to the printed publication. They're unable to adapt themselves to the latest e-versions of this same thing. Now, e-version, you have a diary, you have a calendar e-version also, you have everything. You have even a electronic writing pads where you have an electronic pen and you write down, and the whole thing gets converted into letters. Yes, the modern technology facilitates that. But among the users, among the audience, at least 30 to 35% of the people are senior citizens, are old people who are more comfortable with a printed publication like a calendar, like a diary, like a brochure, like a folder, like a newsletter, like a house journal. They're more comfortable with this. Otherwise, why would India have a rising, growing trend of newspapers? More newspapers are coming. People are taking printed version of the newspaper. They want to read it at their convenience. They want to sit in as they like. They need not sit on a specially made chair as you have in front of a computer. They can lie down and read a book. They can switch on the bed light and read for instance, a printed book. It can be a novel. It can be a folder. It can be a brochure. It can be a book, or it can be a manual. It can be a handbook. So this is how the publications are very, very important in terms of even, in fact, one research was conducted where, where about a dozen software engineers were asked whether they are able to, how are they able to go through their manual. Say, for instance, the software has a manual, like Photoshop has a manual of its own. Then you ask them, they'll say, well, we are able to go through the manual in the printed form. Why? Well, you can as well see it on your computer. Then they said that they can read that manual at their convenience and their comfort. So out of dozen people, at least 9 people have said that they are happy with the printed manual than the manual that they get in the e-version. So everything is now available in the electronic version, and everything is now, for instance, available in print version. Now, what is happening is that unlike previous days, previous years, we used to print at a time and dump them and store them, and then they may get yellow, they may get old, and then they may get spoiled, and we put it back to the scrap fellow. But now the present situation is not like that. The present situation is, thanks to digital technology emerging, we are able to get even one single book or one single calendar as I like because of digital printing. So if I have, say, about 100 people, out of which 70 people say that they want printed version, then they can say 70 people can give me the money and I'll print 70 copies. No, out of 100, only one fellow wants a printed copy. I can give one printed copy also. So that is one of the reasons why print versions are still popular. They're easy to store. They're easy to fight in a court of law. And so there are many advantages that are there. Right? Yes, there are some disadvantages when you compare to the kind of benefits that you get through the e-version also. Now we have what is known as government publications. We all know what are the government publications. They bring out lots of publications. the government brings out, police department brings out the journals, publications, calendars for to bring in awareness among the public. They do print also sometimes and distribute them free of cost. TTD prints calendars, which they earn crores of rupees from TTD calendars because they have beautifully printed, what you call it, beautifully printed calendars. TTD brings out every year and they are sold like hotcakes. So they are printed in millions and each calendar costs say about, I think now 90 rupees or 100 rupees. And if you imagine 1 million and it's 100 million rupees, that's a big amount. And that is printed also, printed calendars. So they put it for sentimentally, for religious thing. So that's how it can be. Or in, for instance, Parliament, the government publication, for instance, the Parliament brings out debates in a printed form. So in a democracy, you need to print and then circulate it to members of Parliament, all those things also. And similarly, we have catalogs of a product. You all know what is a product catalog. When you go and buy a Maruti car, you are given a very beautiful booklet, which will give you entire catalog of the. I mean, they give you something like a manual only how you what are the do's and don'ts. As a user of say Maruti car, you have a nice book which will tell you some of the tips of how to overcome some crisis that you may have in the course of the car running. So you have all those things. So what is that you will do when you're bringing out a product catalog? What is that you want to do? When you bring out a catalog, say a product catalog, you should be in a very in an important. It can be a one is it could be a commercial product catalog where Maruti can print different models, information of different models of cars it is bringing out. It gives you a beautiful brochure, or it can give you if you are interested only in Wagoner, you're interested in only in some other car like Creta or Brazier, then they will give you that also as a separate catalog. Individual catalog or one big collective catalog. What are all the cars that you sell? So I give you a catalog where you have all the cars, features of all the cars printed in one particular book or a booklet, and that is known as a product catalog. So this helps you to take a proper decision as a customer when you want to buy, say, a car, for instance. So how do you bring out? So this is the responsibility of a PRO to bring out a beautifully printed product catalog because there's a possibility of this reader going through the branded catalog and getting convinced to buy because and the credit goes to you as a PRO because you are in a position to gather the information. You're able to perceive what is in public's mind, gather the content, gather the photograph, do the excellent designing in such a way, and you know who your customers are. You, as good as a marketing manager, you know what your public, your external public, your customers mainly, you know their behavior, their quality, their expectation, and accordingly you will design a catalog in such a way that is very beautiful, it's very attractive, and it makes the reader to go through almost every car's literature of every car, and quite possible he may at the end of the time he turns the last page of this catalog, he may be really impressed and he may make a decision to buy the product. So you see what has happened to your product catalog. So what has happened to your corporate publication that it is a silent salesman. Nobody need to convince. I need not touch someone दाढ़ी पकड़ के देखो साहब देखो कुछ तो भी करो खरीद लो. No, I need not say that. I can clearly say my catalog speaks. My catalog is a silent salesman. It does a work of 100 salesmen who go on the road and then do all kinds of all kinds of tricks to convince the customer. I need not, as long as I have a catalog and I have literate customers, I'm happy with my catalog. I have brought it out in the best manner possible. So a lot of money is spent in bringing out a product a catalog where content is gathered, where images are gathered, where all the features of the product are mentioned, such as what are the greatness and the number. Also, they also have the prices and also the discount that you give. You may say Wagoner ke liye discount 50,000. If it is Brezza, we give less discount because this is hot cakes. Wagoner going less, that's why we are giving more discount. So you may immediately make a note of the benefits. You may underline them or maybe write out somewhere or maybe type it out in your notes before you take a final decision. So your product features, how you mention, is also very important. And what is happening is that normally what happens is that a layout is prepared, a design is prepared, and then we make a mock-up. Mock-up means something like a rehearsal. So you will first see a dummy design, or you will see first how it looks on the computer. They make one copy, they make and give it to you and ask you to take a decision whether you like the design, whether you like the layout, whether you like the size of the catalog, and how is it when it's open, how is it when it's closed, all these things. And you'll also look into the weight of the catalog, because sometimes you may have to post it also, or sometimes you can mail it and that guy may have to take a print, which is again difficult for him to take a print. Instead, you can mail the catalog, courier the catalog through various DTDC, Blue Cart, and all those Blue Dart, not card, Blue Dart, and others. So you can try to think about taking these decisions with regard to, you can have a dummy also, you can have a rough layout, you can then see, and also number of pages, because the weight of the catalog is very important as that determines the, transportation cost. So all these things are there, and then you must plan, organize everything on a page. So please try to plan everything, writing content, whether copyright is required. That's very essential, easy to read sentences. All these things are taken care of by the PRO. Actually, he has a department where they take a PRO is normally supposed to execute the production of corporate publications. And that is possible when he has everything in place. But sometimes by virtue of his experience, by virtue of his proficiency, he goes through the literature of the catalog. And if he feels, and if his instincts tell him that some changes are required somewhere, he can always feel free to contact the editor and tell him, sir, I'm finding that this is a bit confusing for the customer in terms of the reader. So the PRO puts himself in the shoes of the reader and then tries to, convince the editor to make the particular, say, a particular paragraph simpler, or a particular feature to be added, or a particular thing which need to be removed. Something is confusing, kindly remove this paragraph, it's adding to the confusion. So all these things can be possible by the PRO, because he can go to the responsibility of bringing out the corporate publications. So what's essential for us is that sometimes when the entire page is made up, there is some gap, because you've filled up the content everywhere. And there is some little gap. Sir, what do we do with this? So such gaps are known as fillers, Fillers, fillers. So what do you do with that? Maybe you can put a particular logo there, or maybe you can put a small joke there, or maybe you can put a good quote from Vivekananda, or maybe you can put something which is useful, may not be directly related to the publication also, but those are known as fillers. You can also try to put, some of the slogans, given there is no substitute for hard work. So if you put that, everybody would love that. And then what's the most important thing when you're bringing out any corporate publication is there is of course, there is a thing known as impressive cover. Your entrance to the publication should be a beautiful, impressive title page, title cover, failing which, it's of no use. You must attract the customer or the reader. So first, the gate itself is so impressive. Suppose when you're entering, like you have seen Vaikunthapuram. So when you say such a kind of a beautiful building, you need a more beautiful entrance. If the entrance is not beautiful, it's quite possible all the beauty inside may not be seen by the guy, because he feels his entrance ही ऐसा है तो अंदर और कितना कचरा रहता. So there is a possibility of that. So please remember that there is a saying in Hindi, though it is not necessarily that way, that everything should be very beautiful, attractive. So the saying is that bahar se sundar, andar se bandar. No, it should not be like that. It should be bahar se andar se sab sundar rehna chahiye. So this is very important. But an impressive cover will attract the reader to go through the publication, just as how we studied in journalism, that a good headline will draw the attention of the reader to go through the entire news story. And the same analogy applies in case of this also. So please remember that you have to sometimes, if you want a publication, that department has to raise an order form and then tell the PR department, sir, we need a publication of this nature. The PR department will take care of the publication. So whether it's catalog and then anything that you want to give. So that all these things are known as the corporate publication. Then, poster is also a corporate publication. Poster plays a very important role. All of us know how posters played an important role in Corona during COVID time. A poster, very good, always put somewhere at vantage point or a very important point to the city. At places you put posters, they are also actually printed and you are able to exhibit them properly, so that A reader is able to read at a glance from a 6 feet distance, is able to understand a very good information which they want to say. It can be anything. It can be a music concert arranged by your corporate company, or you may be arranging screening of a film, where your company is also playing a role, or maybe it all depends on, even after all, in Russia, there is now people are protesting against war, so they are also coming up with posters and telling no war against Ukraine, no war. Russia should not go for war. People in Russia are saying and getting arrested. They are printing posters and pasting everywhere as they like. So posters are, in a way, a very quick way of communicating a very important message, which is very little, few words, and you are able to understand. Few words but more meaning. Few words but more powerful. A volcano is also small, but inside the volcano, you don't know the amount of the fire energy that it creates. So is the case with a poster. Little information which can be volcanic in nature. It can be simply an artwork, or it can be anything. It can be a face, two people, okay, two people in a very sad face, and they are put on the poster. They want to say, we need communal harmony. So the communal disturbance, the poster speaks, a poster convinces. No, look at the way agony. We don't know whether he's Hindu, is Muslim, Christian, Sikh, but two people of both the faith will understand. We don't know who is he or she, but we are able to understand the agony. Agony is the same for everyone. It has nothing to do with caste, creed, religion. We are seeing now the entire world is in agony over what's happening in Ukraine. So poster can try to be visually striking. They can give something which is very, very effective, impactful, and create some kind of a permanent effect on the viewer, on the reader. So poster printing is also a very technical. It can be a movie poster, it can be a travel poster, it can be educational poster. So go to tourism, Telangana Tourism Bhavan, you will find lots of posters there. You will find Edupayala, and then you will find Lucknowaram, then you will find Charminar, then you will find Adilabad, and all those posters. They deal with posters. So a tourist comes and then he's attracted by, say, these places. Oh God, such a beautiful state. They have so many places to visit. Then a person may take a picture of that, go to hotel and read the poster carefully, and maybe plan his visit for the next 4 or 5 days on how to tour such place. So movie posters also, you're impressed by that, and not necessarily that, a picture like Bhimla Nayak, for instance, you may say, who will see? Yes, they will say, oh, there Pawan Kalyan, there is Rana. So there is a poster, movie posters. Educational posters also are very helpful. You want medical education somewhere here and there. This is also a type of a publication. Then we have a publication known as direct mailer. Direct mail is something where you are getting a mail in the sense, like I get, for instance, I'm subscribing to Reader's Digest. So Reader's Digest has in its book a card, a coupon. I can tear that coupon. I can write, I want to continue my subscription to that, and I write everything, I sign, and then I put this card free of cost. I won't put stamp, but I put it in that post box. It reaches him, and then I get my gift, I get my subscription, and I tell him that I don't know all this. I don't have all this debit card, Google Pay, and all that. I will pay VPP. So he sends me the book. The postman comes and collects the money, cash, and then I'm getting. That is a direct mailer. So I am in direct contact with, say, Reader's Digest, or say with India Today, or with Hindu, where I'm able to send my money and get the printed publications at my doorstep. This is very, very essential for us. So please remember, direct mail campaign gives a very good effect, so that people will feel that they're personally in touch with you. So all these things are possible when you have these things. So with this, we have finished this particular unit on actually different types of corporate publications which are brought out by the PR manager in the course of his bringing out the in the course of bringing out a publication. So please remember, this is very essential for us and not a very difficult thing. You need not be afraid. PRO manager over a period of time will become a very good capable person of bringing out any kind of publication that we try to discuss. All types of publication we discussed. Sometimes you get something specially Customized publications also can be made, and you can, depending on the need, you can bring out any publication that you would like to you'd like to have. So with this, we have completed today's topic of what you know as actually the what exactly is corporate organization, how the governance takes place, what is mission, what is vision, and what are the types of publications that are brought out, and what the importance of print as a medium of communication. In corporate communication, publication is an important skeleton, almost a backbone of your communication strategy. Though you have other modes of communication, like you may you may adopt or adapt a television for you, or a radio broadcast, or an internet. You have all kinds of different kinds, but printed product is again one of the most is the cheapest and permanent medium of communication, so that you are in a position to reach audiences of different nature. This is what we mean by that, what we call it as the types of publication. Next class, we will see tomorrow the production of corporate publication. So what happens actually, how do you bring out a product? We will see that how you actually, what happens in sequence. First step, 80, second step, third step, fourth step, what is it? So with this, we have completed the course today. It's now 11 o'clock, and I take leave. Thank you very much. I hope you will go through it. If there's anything else also, you can get in touch with the university authorities and WhatsApp your doubts, and I will clarify them. Thank you very much.